passenger seat of their car, and immediately asking, "How's father?"
"No better, I'm afraid,"
she replied, as she switched on the engine and eased the Mini out of the car park and onto the main road.
"Your mother spoke to the doctor this morning, and he's saying it can only be a matter of weeks, possibly days, before—"
Both of them fell silent as Hannah drove onto a quiet country lane surrounded by acres of green fields with little groups of sheep huddled in corners, suggesting rain.
"I know he's looking forward to seeing you,"
said Hannah, breaking the silence.
"He was saying earlier that there are a couple of family matters he needs to discuss with you."
Simon knew exactly what his father had in mind, painfully aware one of them couldn't be avoided any longer. After a couple more miles, Hannah turned off the main road, lowered her speed, and proceeded slowly down the long drive that led to Hartley Hall, a home the family had lived in since 1562. As Hannah brought the car to a halt, the front door opened, and Lady Hartley appeared on the doorstep. She came down the steps to greet them, giving her only son a warm hug, while whispering in his ear,
"I know your father wants to see you, so why don't you go up and join him while I give the rest of the family some tea?"
Simon walked into the house and proceeded slowly up the stairs. When he reached the landing, he stopped to admire an oil painting of his distinguished ancestor, the Right Honourable David Hartley MP, before knocking quietly on the bedroom door. It had only been a few days since his last visit, but his father had visibly worsened. Simon hardly recognised the frail figure with thinning hair and a sallow complexion, who was propped up in bed, his head resting against two pillows. Breathing heavily, he held out a bony hand, which Simon held onto, as he sat down on the bed next to him.
"So, why did the Prime Minister want to see you?"
were his father's opening words, before he'd even said hello to his son. "He's invited me to lead a British delegation to Saudi Arabia in order to negotiate a major arms deal." His father couldn't hide his surprise.
"That won't be greeted with overwhelming acclamation," he suggested. "Not least by the Prime Minister's colleagues on the left of his party, who keep reminding us that the Saudis continue to outlaw trade unions."
"Possibly," said Simon. "However, if we could land the contract, those same trade unions would welcome the thousands of jobs that would suddenly become available up and down the country."
"Not to mention the millions that would start flowing into the Treasury."
"Billions," said Simon. "And Blair didn't stop reminding me that if we don't get the contract, the French will."
"Reason enough for you to accept this assignment, my boy,"
said his father.
"And as you are bound to be away for several weeks, possibly months, there are one or two matters we need to discuss before you go. The old order changeth, yielding place to new," the old man continued, quoting his favourite poet. "So I can only hope that in time you will come and live in Hartley Hall, and take care of your mother. 'Tis the natural order of things."
"You have my word on it," promised Simon.
"And I don't want your mother worrying about financial matters. She still tips waiters a shilling and considers it extravagant."
"Fear not, father," said Simon. "I've already set up a trust fund in her name, which I'll personally administer on her behalf, so she won't have to fuss about any temporary financial difficulties."
"And then there's the important issue," said his father, "of what you should do with Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, which, as you know, has been in our family for over 200 years. We should have carried out the President's wishes long before now. With that in mind, I made an appointment to see the American ambassador in order to hand over the fair copy, along with the letter that shows the great man had always intended it to be bequeathed to the American people."
"In the fullness of time," Simon reminded him.
"To be fair," said the old man, "it hadn't occurred to me that it was of any value other than as an historic memento, until I read recently that one of Benjamin Franklin's printed copies of the Declaration sold for over $1 million, which is when I felt concerned for the first time."
"No need to feel concern, father. Once the negotiations for the arms deal have been completed, the first thing I'll do when I get home is visit the American embassy and hand the declaration over to the ambassador in your name."
"Along with the letter expressing..."